Okay.
Good morning, team. How are you?
Well,
Morning. Good morning.
good. Good morning.
Awesome. I am Miss Hawkins. I am the special education teacher and case manager for Miss Jeanette Doe. And today we'll be discussing her IEP. And I want to make sure that everybody was here. So let's introduce the team.
I am Miss McBrayer, Janet's foster parent.
Good morning.
I am Fatima Morton. I am Janet's general education math teacher.
I am Andrew Bernal, and I'm the psychometrist.
I am Miss Robinson. I'm Janet's English gen ed teacher.
I am Charlene Hayes, and I'm Jeanette's caseworker.
And I'm Walton Vandervoort. I'm the principal at Best Schools Elementary.
Awesome. I'm happy to have our team together this morning. We're going to just take a little time to talk about Janet. We do know that Janet is 12 years old and she's been placed in foster care since her grandmother discovered that she was in bad living conditions. And so she's now here at our school, Best School Elementary. And we just want to make sure that we applied her IEP correctly for her this upcoming school year. So does anybody have any questions before we get started? Okay. So we do know that Jenny is a fifth grade student with a specific learning disability in reading comprehension. She has difficulty decoding words, blending, and frequently used sight words. Her writing skills and reading skills are at a first grade level, and she enjoys looking through fashion magazines and girl life magazines. And just for some personal note, she enjoys drawing pictures and clothes and shoes and stuff like that. So we do know that Janet is very lively, and along with her specific learning disability, she does have comprehension skills of understanding colors, shoes, and clothes and stuff like that. So we want to, cite that as one of her strengths. She is a sweet child and she does not have any behavior problems that we can tell at this time. She does need guidance and appropriate behavior interaction with small groups with her peers and completing, and she needs help with completing group work. Sometimes Janet will shut down when she's in group with groups of people that challenge her answers, and Janet does not always make eye contact with her peers and adults. Um, Going down some more with her testing. We got a chance to look over some of her testing results. And with the Woodcock-Johnson mastery test and reading data, her word identification was at a first, second grade level, requires examiners to read her words in increasing difficulty. Word attack, she was on a 1.4 grade level, and that requires examining to read nonsense words in increasing difficulty. Her word comprehension was at a 1.8 grade level. She's measuring reading vocabulary from different levels of cognitive processing. And I'm sorry, did someone have a question about that?
No, that was my son. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. And she has a passive comprehension of 1.4 grade level. She measures the ability to study the sentence of short passage and exercise a variety of comprehension and vocabulary skills in identifying the missing word. Her total reading was 1.7 grade level, and her board measure of global reading. That was her board measure of global reading abilities. Okay. So, for a goal to to just to talk about the things that we're going to use. Does anyone have any questions about her test scores before we talk about her goals?
Miss Hawkins, this is Miss McBrayer, the foster parent.
Mm-hmm.
After reviewing and hearing her reading scores, is there anything you could recommend me as the foster parent to help her get better at home to help these goals?
Yes, ma'am. There are some type of reading interventions that are home based. We can set you up with an online tutor program that will allow her to have access on her Chromebook at home. We also have different learning platforms, such as right now, my district is using iReady. And so with iReady, they put them on a series of different learning tools that progresses them forward. Also, we have something called elevation because I do see that Janet has a background of a different language variation. So that will also help her as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have any questions?
I have a quick question. How will Janet's progress in reading be monitored throughout the school year?
Okay, no problem. That's a great question. As soon as I read the goals and the targeted area that we're talking about today, reading in the goals, I think that'll sum up your question.
Excellent.
Yeah. So let's just get right into it so that way we kind of um tackle that question really quick. So it says here, if you guys look onto the goal page, the area that we'll be looking at focusing on is reading. It says Janet struggles in the general education classroom when reading sight words and short stories because her deficit in decoding of words. This impedes her learning within the general education classroom setting. So by February 2026, Janet will be able to apply phonics skills to decode unfamiliar words when she reads a story or text or sight words on a functional level, 4 out of 5 attempts with 80% accuracy. And those will be measured by ELA 5.21.6 and ELA 6.21.7. The next one we have is by February 26, 2026. Janet will be able to read a story and comprehend the informational text of a story or a text 4 out of 5 attempts with 75% accuracy. We'll use ELA 5.19.1, ELA 6.191. And how we'll measure these goals, we'll use teacher text, data collection, and some work samples, just so that we can make sure that we're taking note of her progress each time. So that leads us to her benchmarks as well. So by April 2025, when given a text or a functional level, Janet will be able to apply phonics to decode unfamiliar words to reading a text with 60% accuracy. And then we'll come back and measure that benchmark in September. And when giving a text her of her functional level, Janet will apply phonics skills to decode unfamiliar words to read with a text of 70% accuracy.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How can we incorporate stuff in the general education classroom to include Janet?
Yes, ma'am. So what we want to do to do that is we want to increase her interacting with peers and teachers because we do see that she does have a deficit with interacting with her peers, and that will fall a little bit along the lines of a behavior. So what I would like to see happen is more engaging with peers and her teachers. So more like if you do a group activity, let's include Janet more, and let's make sure that it's all on eye level because we do see that she does not like to keep that eye contact. So let's just make her comfortable.
Okay.
Miss Hawkins, this is Principal Vandervoort. I was wondering if there are any other specific accommodations or modifications that we need to make in her classes to make sure that she's in the correct classes with the correct peers. What would your input be there? Which type of classes would be best to get her in?
Okay, so I'm glad you asked that question. And so if you look on the IEP for the supplementary aids and services, this will be done within the classroom on a daily basis. So and we would like for Janet to have simplified directions, verbal prompting, allow additional wait time for proceeding, proximity seating, modeling of positive behavior and interaction with her peers. We would like for you all to check for her understanding of assignments. Assignments should be read aloud for her understanding. And so that should happen within the general education classroom on a daily. within the resource room or the special education classroom, and this could be also housed inside of the general education class. It says the reading services will be provided to the special education teacher to address the to address and apply phonics skills to decode words and text for 30 minutes a day. Okay. So for 30 minutes a day, we'll apply that with the special education teacher, and she'll have small group intervention that will be used to address Janet's behavior deficit in interacting with peers.
I have a question on that. On her, I'm Miss Robinson. I'm her Gen Ed English teacher. Should she be allowed extra time for assessments to give her extra time to comprehend what she's reading?
Yes, ma'am. Great question. Again, falls under accommodations needed for her assessment. She will have small group testing, allow for oral responses, extended time not to exceed 2 days past the given test date, simplified answering questions, tests to be read aloud for understanding and direction, and the directions and questions shall be read aloud to Janet.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I am Janet's general education math teacher. And as far as math word problems, um, I want to know, do you think it's a great idea that we continue the possible small groups and the one-on-one to allow Janet to also attempt to read the math problem words, and this will assist with the reading deficit and maybe encourage and increase with focusing and also with eye contact measurements?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. I think that that's a great idea because, again, stated in her IEP, she does have the services with peer helpers, and that will encourage her and increase her ability to interact with others. Also, that small group is included in her inclusion time. So that will also encourage her to be able to interact with others. For math with word problems, it does point out here that she's to be read aloud to. So with word problems, it's important that we make sure that we read those aloud and check for understanding, just to be on the safe side that she's getting a clear understanding of what's going on in those word problems.
Okay.
I have a question. What strategies will you use if Janet is not making expected progress in reading?
The strategies that we'll use, we'll go ahead and make sure that we're taking observation notes, of course. It's important that we all make sure that we're documenting her achievements, if she's meeting those goals, or if not, then we need to make sure that we're taking note of that. And if we do see some regression towards these type of goals or they're not being met, we will convene again to try to write out some different goals that's probably more measurable for Janet at this time.
Okay.
Ms. Hawkins, I have a question. As her foster parent, how will I be notified of her progress or her lack of progress?
So we do send home annual progress goals. Every 9 weeks, we will send home annual progress goals that does detail whether or not Janet is attempting the goal, making progress trying towards the goal, or if she's accomplishing the goal. We'll also send home some information throughout the year where we're just making sure that she's on target with her benchmarks.
Okay. Can I be included when you send out that information? I'm her caseworker, so I need to be privy to that information.
I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't hear you what your name was again.
I'm Charlene Hayes, her caseworker.
Charlene Hayes. Okay, I'm sorry, Miss Hayes. It was so many different people. I was trying to make sure. Yes, ma'am. We make sure we can get the information out to you. Yeah, we'll make sure that your name was on that list. Does anyone have any more questions?
No, I think that's it.
Is there a way that this team regularly communicates with the parents and teachers? Is there a system for communication just when we talk about moving forward and discussing Janet's progress?
Well, yes, ma'am. As the special education teacher, my biggest thing is communicating. I like to do when I do the annual progress goals out, I do like to communicate with my parents at that point in time to reach out to let them know. I do a team meeting with my team monthly to discuss the benchmarks and to discuss the goals that are at hand for each individual student. But right now, as far as Janet is concerned, looking at her reading levels and everything, I would like to increase that to a every 2 week team
Okay.
meeting just to have a brief discussion about what we see and what's going on to tackle those goals.
Okay.
That sounds good. Just want you to know it. Let us know if we can support you, from the front office in any way. So,
Of course. Thank you so much. I just would like for you all to make sure that we have the foster parents correct information of contact.
we will make sure we have that and keep that.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I appreciate it. Do we have any more questions or concerns?
No, that's it.
Thank you, Miss Hawkins.
Oh, no problem. Thank you guys so much for being a part of our meeting today. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Okay. Where,
You
where
too.
sign? We have to sign. Will we get a copy to sign?
Yes, ma'am. So this is a different scenario. So I do want to point that out that if we were all in person, I would have you all to sign and I will give you a copy today. But seeing as we're online, I did specify on the IEP that we are attending this Viva WebEx and that you all will get a signed copy tomorrow. Just because I need to be sure that I'm able to put it in mail route. So I will sign it here in my physical being, and then I will place on here that you all are here in attendance Viva WebEx.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.